trip all the way to Los Angeles again. Like you mentioned, didn't go the way that the Pride wanted it to go, but a real chance here to get some revenge against a team that knocked them off last year in Fairfield, and a chance to get it right here at home.
Well, and this is a Fairfield Stags team that comes into this game with some really, really strong back class. After dropping their opening game of the season at Holy Cross, consecutive ranked wins for them at home against UConn and Albany. And the big catalyst for that has been Elizabeth Talluto, who scored 8 goals in those 2 games. 6 of them, though, in the latter, in the win over number 23 Albany.
Yeah, leading point scorer for this team with 15 points this season is just a do-it-all player for this Fairfield team, not to mention Grace Slater, who also had 5 points in that win against UConn. I mean, this is a really solid team in Fairfield. They dropped their first game to Holy Cross, but then, I mean, as good of a bounce back 2 wins you can get against 23rd and 24th ranked teams in the country. So this Fairfield Stags team, as this Hofstra team knows very well from last season, is definitely not a pushover.
Yeah, and this is a Fairfield Stags team that is 5 times consecutively MAAC champions, and 3 of their players on that all preseason team. We talked about Elizabeth Talluto already, but also Libby Rowe and Lindsay Barnes, those other 2 players that round out that total. And Elizabeth Talluto, to talk about her a little bit more, not a surprise given the statistics that she put up with those 8 goals across that week, but she was the offensive player of the week in that conference. Lindsay Barnes, the defensive player of the week in that conference. The Fairfield Stags swept those 2 awards.
All right, Talluto graduate, student from Pennsylvania. I mean, definitely the player to look out for from Fairfield's perspective. And I mean, you mentioned 2 of those players. I mean, you didn't even talk about some of the other players that have been really big contributors, like Grace Slater mentioned before. And that's what makes this team so dangerous. Got a lot of different players that they can attack you from, and they're not totally relying on Talluto to get the job done.
Well, and you also kind of referenced this a little bit earlier, Dylan. This is a Fairfield team that last year they had their way with the Hofstra Pride. It was a 15-7 win. Her had to herself there, and it was again a game that was played at Fairfield, but it was one where the Stags had their way.
Right, 15-7, a big win for them. And this Pride team, a lot of those players that were on the team last year returned, like Nikki Manella, Taylor Manella, hat tricks each, and they're going to be back this game looking for a little revenge. And it's always interesting to see these when the schools schedule these games from home and away, and they finally get that home opportunity, a second chance to go after a team. Obviously, a lot of those players from Fairfield that contributed in that game, they didn't move on, but they've got a lot of new players, and interesting to see how this matchup will go. The second,
you don't get the benefit of the turnover, but you do at least get a chance to have to force Fairfield to work this end now. It's with Rowe. Give in to Talluto. Talluto, there she is! And that's the first of the day for Talluto.
Yeah, we haven't really said her name too often today. I mean, you mentioned it quite often because of how good of a player she is. But she can't give her that much space. That a little just too easy there from a Fairfield perspective. And we've seen when they go on runs, the Stags, it's these wide open goals that they've been able to score, and that's disappointing for Hofstra. They cut that lead to 3, and then give away the penalty, end up scoring on the penalty. And the way that Hofstra's defended at points in this game has been really solid, but they haven't really been able to keep Fairfield from turning it over and losing possession.
Zach, over to Talluto. At the 12 arc, near side, Harrell swings out far side, Talluto, pass off to the near side, far side, Slater. Now back to Slater. Swings it over to Ford. 14 on the shot clock. Fairfield's had to work this one. Now that's given to goal line extended down to Mangotti. Now a bounce shot and scored by Fairfield. Looked like that was Talluto, so she's got 2.
Yeah, that's how good she is. Just exposed in a second. 6 seconds to go on the shot clock. That was good defense by Hofstra until really the very end there. And that's the bounce shot right there. I mean, that's all it is. It kind of just, the turf slows it down for a second, and it can kind of mess up your rhythm as a goalkeeper as you're expecting a quick shot around to try to block. And when that hits the ground, you kind of got to readjust the way that thing bounces off the turf. And not an easy save to be made at all by Cardello. Couldn't get it there. And you can't leave Talluto, can't give her an inch of space, or she's going to take it for a goal.
scorer by number 30, Elizabeth Talluto.
So it will be another draw control for the Hofstra Pride, and for Fairfield gets the clear.
A little breath for you, Jack, but I just want to highlight the hustle play by Fairfield, who ran halfway down the field. Didn't result in anything, but able to get a steal, and they went the other way, but obviously Fairfield now has it.
So it's with Fort, Fabrizi, Rowe, to X extended, and Butcher. Swung up to Slater at the top. Slater leaves it off to Talluto. Talluto surveying behind, now passes out to Kozak. Kozak, give in to Talluto. Talluto, a shot, she scores!
That was a fantastic goal there by Talluto, and didn't have the room that Fairfield has been accustomed to today, but just kind of gets it, flicks it in, bottom right corner, and it's a tough save for Cardello. It's back-to-back bounce shots.
And after that goal by Fairfield, Shannon Smith will call another timeout. Hofstra seemed to really respond after she called the timeout in the first. She called a timeout in the first half after a Fairfield run. It's a big mountain to climb for them, now down 7, and you saw right there that little sequence that give in to Talluto by on the assist on that goal. It was Kozak, and that little pitch and catch that Fairfield's playing inside that arc has been really, really lethal today.
Yeah, and I know we talked about Talluto and a team player and all that, yada yada, but she's got a hat trick now. Kind of out of nowhere. Kind of out of nowhere she's got that hat trick, and that's how good of a player she is, and you can't give her that much space, and you can see it today with just 5 shots. She's able to convert 3 of those for goals.
Yeah, and this is a player who for 27 minutes was not on the score sheet. Now she's got a hat trick. That's not surprising given the quality of player that she is, but just the way that this game was working out in the first half. But Fairfield really beginning to assert in this now as we start this third quarter. If we go back to the first quarter, it was a lengthy